Don McLean's coming to town. This is a show I want you to see. Not for me, not for Don, for you. It's the 50th anniversary of Vincent. Starry Night, Saturday night, April 6th, Rivers Casino Des Plaines. And you need to get tickets for this. Don, I haven't talked to you in forever, and in the 100th year of WLS, it seems appropriate you would be on this great station.
Well, I'm glad to be anywhere, to tell you the truth, at my age. But I'm very busy, and I've got all kinds of things going on. And one of the nicest things is we have a new album coming out called American Boys. And, we're also still talking about this 50th anniversary of the American Pie album, and now Vincent is 50 years old.
It's amazing.
So, I just love playing these casinos because they're fun and they have great audiences, and they're low pressure, so it's very nice.
Well, and it's up close and personal for people where your music has meant so much to them. It's pretty cool. It's a great connection point. WLS, WABC in New York, WLS here. There's a few radio stations that really set the tone for what happened with music in the 70s, and this was certainly one of them, if not the biggest. And it's just hard for people to understand, or even under the age of 50, how big a deal radio was for musicians, and taking a song like American Pie and making it huge when nobody could play an 8-minute record.
Well, I had an album before the American Pie album was called Tapestry. And Tapestry had 2 songs on it, And I Love You So and Castles in the Air, which became very well-known songs. And I Love You So was recorded by hundreds of people. And I was sort of an underground sensation, and that means I was really big on FM radio.
Right, the hippies, where the hippies were done.
The hippies and the college students and all that, and they just loved me. And then when American Pie came out, they bought the album, and immediately American Pie went to #1. So they weren't sure they wanted to own it because now I had a hit record, and that made me part of, I guess, the establishment, So
Sure.
there was a big disconnect there. But they bought the record, and the record company put out a 3-minute version of American Pie, which is 8.5 minutes long. And the people that bought the album called up and said, that's not the song. The song is this. So they didn't have actually, believe it or not, they didn't have the technology to put 8 minutes out on a single, or even they had to bring the album into the control room and play it. And that's how the song, the 8-minute song, got to be #1. And that was the record that Taylor Swift beat recently with a longer song.
Well, but that's the thing that people don't understand, and how could they, is that program directors and radio stations in the top 40 screaming disc jockey hit record era, they couldn't figure out how to play it. Harry Chapin was similar. Harry Chapin had a couple of incredible records, Taxi, for instance, even Cats in the Cradle. These longer records were the bane of their existence until the audience got a hold of them and they said, well, we have to have it.
That's about right. That's exactly what happened. And, I had a lot of support there out in Chicago and still do. I believe there was a fun story about a song I wrote on the Homeless Brother album called The Legend of Andrew McCrew.
Mm-hmm.
And it was about a hobo who had been mummified and taken around down south with a tuxedo on. And he needed a burial place. And I think it was WLS in Chicago. I can't remember the name of the disc jockey. But they went nuts. They had a lot of fun. They raised money to buy this hobo a proper headstone, and there was a lot of stories about that.
Yeah. And I think I know exactly who it was, but I'll look that up while we're talking here. Everybody wants to talk to you about American Pie. Everybody wants to read 8 million things into it. I'm sure a day in your life doesn't go by where people don't talk about it. But this is one of the 5 greatest records in survey after survey ever made. And it really was, to me, it's always been the story of your childhood. Just listen to the words.
Well, a bunch of interesting things have happened here at this point in my life, which are kind of nice. They put out a bookazine which tells the story, and then they did a documentary movie called "The Day the Music Died: The Story of Don McLean's American Pie."
Mm-hmm.
And this is streaming still on Paramount Plus. And recently, the Biography Channel, it was one of the 10 music biographies everybody should see. And so I'm quite proud of it. It seems to have legs. And really, it is exactly right. It tells the story of how I got into show business, and it's connected to Buddy Holly's death and my father's death, which then allowed me to go into show business, which wouldn't have happened if my father had stayed alive, because he didn't want me to do that. And so it starts from there, and all of that is in this movie. But the fascinating thing about the movie was that Mark Morman, who made the movie, and Spencer Proffer, who put everything together for it, had film footage of me in 1968 and 69 and all these times when I had just gotten out of school, out of college. So they could follow this story. You could actually see it happen until the song unfolds. And everything you want to know about the song is in there. I talk about everything.
And do you have the life that I think you have, where everybody wants to talk about American Pie?
Do I have what?
Do you have the life I think you have, where everybody wants to? I mean, everybody knows your music, but everybody wants to talk about American Pie. They don't want to miss that moment with Don McLean where they can talk to you about American Pie. That's
true. That's true. And I'm very patient about that. I realize that. And I don't want to be one of those people that said, I don't want to. I know how much people want to know this, but now I tell them, look at the documentary.
Right. Which is great. You can go listen.
It really has been tremendous.
Yeah, no, what a time saver.
Yeah, really.
After all these years, what song gives you the most joy to perform?
I have let me tell you something great. This new album, American Boys, is being put out by a company. It's on video. It's going to be on CD and vinyl, but they're also re-releasing 7 of my former albums that I owned, and next year another 7 albums. So, there's going to be a chance for people, if they're interested, to really hear what I do. I do a lot of different things. That's why I had a number 1 of Crying.
Yep.
Since I Don't Have You. That's why the song Jerusalem is out there now to sort of hope that peace will come to the Middle East. That's from an album called Believers. The songs like Castles in the Air and I Love You So is different. So I do a lot of different stuff, but I'm very proud of these albums, and they're all going to be remastered by Mike Sievers, who is my producer there in Nashville. And so a lot of stuff is happening for me in a great way, so that people, if they're interested, can get one of these albums and listen to it and see some of the different things that I do.
And the best way to follow you is and to keep track of what you're up to is what?
Oh, all you have to do is Google my name, or you put my name in on YouTube, and you'll come
and you get everything.
Don McLean, the Don McLean YouTube channel, and there's more than you would ever want to know about me.
Yeah, DonMcLean.com. Doesn't get any easier than that. Before I let you go, and I'll remind people again, the show's coming up Saturday, April 6th, 50th anniversary of Vincent, Starry Night. Rivers Casino displays, and that's a cool theater, too. So you're going to have a great night there. But I have to ask you if you would inspire some kids who are listening, because I think there's a cool story that not very many people know, that you had some pretty significant asthma issues as a kid. So along with having a dad, a dad who probably wouldn't have wanted you to be a musician because you know how shady musicians are. You also probably didn't have a lot of people who thought, hey, the kid with asthma, he'll be a great singer.
Yeah.
How'd you get over that hump?
Well, I had a lot of adversity of a sort, I guess you could say. I mean, I certainly would never say that's the first time I've ever said that, but Nobody else had asthma that I knew. I was the only kid that did. Now it's an epidemic.
Right.
Yeah, it's awful. But anyway, not to go into too many details, I would be home probably 6 weeks, at least twice a year, and with pneumonia, and would be a couple of times got near death growing up until I was about 15. And somehow it left me, at least it left me in that way. But what happened was I ended up getting a wonderful relationship with the television and the radio and the top 10 and music. And I was a singer. I could sing already, but children are very creative. They can do so many things. Children sing, they dance, they paint, they do everything, and it's just they're like Picassos or something. And then
Sure.
Then they go to school and they get it knocked out of them. Don't do that. But I didn't have that disadvantage of going to school as much as the other kids.
Well, yeah, because you were home, but I love the analogy because kids are only limited by their imagination, and if you encourage imagination in a child and encourage a kid's dream, anything's possible.
Well, I mean, look, some of these huge actors now, like Leonardo DiCaprio and the other one, Joaquin, whatever, Phoenix.
Yeah,
they were like hippies, really, born in sort of hippie families. They didn't really go to school all that much. Their parents were Johnny Depp, the same kind of thing. They're brilliant. There's all sorts of ways to become educated and to learn how to be a civilized human being with a talent. And I'm not sure that making children conform, from the time they're in kindergarten is all that great an idea. So, but anyway, I was fortunate to have these years when, oh my God, my mother and father were much older. When I was born, I think they probably thought, what did we were gonna just retire. We'd raised a daughter. I had a sister 15 years older than I was, and we did this already, and now we get this kid who has asthma all the time and keeps us up all night. So it was a lot of up. You get strong.
And I think the point I want, especially kids to hear, teenagers in particular who have this dream, everybody has something. And don't let that something you have in life hold you back. If you wake up in the morning and the first thing you think about is singing or painting or dancing or being funny or whatever, if you're a creative, artistic kid, chase your dreams. Chase them as far as they'll take you. And have your mom and dad go take you to see Don McLean. The 50th anniversary of Vincent. Starry Night, Saturday, April 6th, Rivers Casino Des Plaines. And get your tickets while you can. Small room, big, just big enough to have a great night with Don McLean. It's good reconnecting, man. I wish you nothing but good health and have fun on the road.
Really great to talk to you, man. I enjoyed it.